Hi everybody, welcome to an Age of Fantasy Skirmish battle report. Ghouls vs Goblins. The once beautiful and peaceful land of Teniras has more and more become a land of ruins and death because of the Necromancers' continuous evil shadow and attacks on all living creatures. But even in the ruins, people and tribes seek refuge and shelter from the undead creatures and demons that spread across the land. A tribe of wolf clan goblins is determined to defend the city ruins to the last, even though the goblins are few in numbers. When a Ghoul Champion and his hordes arrive, it'll unavoidable end in a battle of Ghouls and Goblins. The Ghoul Champion is armed with Toxin claws, and he is an executioner that gives him the ability Headtaker. And then he has Strider and Regeneration. With him he has 4 ghouls as him, also with Regeneration, Strider and Toxin claws. And finally a unit of drained archers armed with bows and hand weapon. And all the ghouls and drained archers are undead. The goblin leader is armed with a great weapon, and with him he has 2 units of warriors armed with spears, and the spears have the counter keyword, so they attack first, even if they're charged. Then we have 2 units of shooters. They are armed with short bows and hand weapons. All the goblins are wolf clan goblins, and that means they are fearless. They have deployed around the city, and they will try to defend it with their lives. There are 4 possible entry points to the city, all of them marked with skulls. The ghouls will enter the city at a random skull marker. 1 on the left side of the city, 1 in front of the city, and then 2 here on the side with the graveyard. Whoever takes control of the city will also win the battle. Now, let's roll off. The ghouls will roll the black dice, and the goblins will roll the green dice. And it's a 1 for the undead and a 4 for the goblins. The goblins will begin. Round 1. The first unit to activate is one of the goblin shooter units. They will move away from skull entry point 4 and slightly more into the center of the city. The first undead to enter the city is this ghoul, and the ghoul will enter the city at entry point 4, counting from the left to the front and over here to the right. So this is the top right entry point, close to the goblin shooters that just activated. And the ghoul here will sense the goblins right away. He will charge against the unit of shooter goblins. The ghoul only has 1 attack, and he will hit on a 4, and he will hit. His claws are poisonous, so the goblins with a defense of 6 will have to roll 6, and if they roll 6, they will have to re-roll because of the poison. In this case, they are far off, and 1 goblin will immediately be shredded by the claws. The 2 remaining goblins can fight back with hand weapons. They will hit on a 5, and this is a decent roll. There will be 1 hit, and the ghoul will defend. He will fail his defense roll, but the ghouls have regeneration. He can try that, and he also fails that one, so he will take 1 wound and roll on the wound chart. And it's a 6! The goblins will fight off the attacking ghoul and take him down for good. The goblin spearmen hiding in the ruins here will get out, and then they will block this entrance to the city. They are dangerous when they are attacked because of their spears. Next ghoul is ready, and the ghoul will also enter at entry point number 4, the same place as the ghoul before him. And will he do the same as well? Yes, he will charge the 2 remaining shooters. And he will also hit. Again, the goblins must block with a 6, and they fail. So one more goblin will leave. Still one left. Can he take down his second ghoul? That must be a goblin record. No, he will not hit. The ghoul will back off, and the undead hordes are now officially in the city. But close nearby is the other unit of goblin spearmen. They will charge the ghoul. That's the only target they can charge. So that's 3 attacks with the spears, and there are 2 hits. That's not bad. Again, the ghoul has a rather weak defense of 5, but the ability to try to regenerate. And with 2 failed defense rolls, he will have to rely on his regeneration. And that looks bad for the ghoul. He will not regenerate. He will take 2 wounds from this attack and face a tricky roll on the wound chart. And it's a 3. He will survive for now, but he will be shaken. The ghoul can fight back, but being shaken and fatigued, he will hit only on a roll of 6, and the ghoul is not able to do that. Instead, the drained archers will now arrive, and they will enter the city at skull entry point 1. That is exactly where the other unit of goblin spearmen decided to stand guard. That could turn out to be a bad choice. The archers will, of course, target them. They will hit on 5s. And that is pathetic. I don't know where these arrows went, but they certainly did not hit any goblins. The goblin leader steps into action. He is within charge range of the already wounded ghoul. His great weapon has 3 attacks and it's AP 2. And there is 1 hit. The ghoul is forced to roll 6. And that's a failed defense roll. What about regeneration? A roll of 5 or 6 and no good. The ghoul will take the 3rd wound, and when it's shaken, it will get a +1, so it will have to roll really low on the wound chart. And with a 4, the ghoul is dead. But where a ghoul leaves, another one is coming, this time at entry point number 3. And that is close to the graveyard. The ghoul will sneak from the graveyard and into the city. And this time it will not charge against the goblins. It will stay hidden here behind the ruin and wait for a better opportunity next round. The goblin shooters on the first floor of this building are without any visible targets, so they decide to go on overwatch. And then the Ghoul Champion himself will enter. And he will enter at entry point number 2. He will, so to speak, use the front door. But instead of charging up the main street of the city, he will sneak into the ruins and hide. Close enough to charge the goblins next round, but hidden from the overwatch. And there are no further goblin activations, so one more ghoul will enter, and he will also come from the graveyard and into the city. The ghouls have Strider, and he will use that to his advantage. He will crawl up the ruined walls all the way up to the first floor of this once proud building and hide here where he can see most of the goblins. That was the end of the first round. So far, the goblins have defended the city quite effectively. They have killed 2 ghouls, and they are in a good defensive position to take on what is coming. Let's go to round number 2. The Goblin Spearman Guard will activate first, and they will immediately attack the drained archers. 3 spear attacks. And as usual, they will hit, only with a roll of 5 or more. And there is 1 hit. The Drained Archers has a defense of 5, so one archer will bite the dust. Or, more likely, he will turn into dust. But there are still 2 archers left, and even though they are archers, they are armed with hand weapons as well. They have 2 attacks. They will also hit on a 5, and there are no hits. So the goblins must move back 1 inch and still stand guard at the entrance of the city. Now the Ghoul Champion will activate. He was sneaking through the ruins, now he will charge. He charges the group of spearmen, but they will lower their spears and counter-attack. 3 attacks again. This time, not a single hit. So far the Ghoul Champion's plan seems to work fine. He will have 3 attacks with his Toxin claws. He will hit on a 4. And he will hit with 2 attacks. And now the goblins must defend a poisonous attack. And that's a tricky situation. They will have to defend with a roll of 6. And here is 1 good defense roll, but it's poisonous, so the roll of 6 must be re-rolled. And that results in 2 failed defense rolls. 2 goblins down. The goblin archers still have no visible targets, but it seems like their comrades could use some help on the other side of the city, so they will rush down from the first floor of the building, down the stairs and into a ruin, hiding here. The next ghoul will prepare an attack. It will charge against the lonely spearman, and the spearman has already fought, so the counter-strike will not hit. Instead, the ghoul will attack, and the Toxin claw hit will hit. And again, the defense roll will be very hard for the goblin. It will fail and take 1 wound. So a roll on the wound chart, and it's at 5. The final goblin is taken down by the ghoul. And the entire unit of spearmen is now eliminated. The remaining goblin archer here thinks he's a little too close to the action, so he will advance, and then he will fire at the Ghoul Champion. He has no chance to eliminate him, but he can wound him if he hits, and he hits the wall, not the ghoul. The drained archers will again fire their bows at the spearmen. This time only 2 shots. They have lost 1 skeleton, and that's pathetic. Snake Eyes, nowhere near a hit. The goblin leader now sees his chance to attack the Ghoul Champion. The ghoul has already fought. The goblin leader has 3 attacks, but it's an AP2 weapon. And there will be 1 good hit. Only 1, but still with AP2, the ghoul must roll 6 to defend. And the defense roll fails, and so does the regeneration roll. So there will be 1 wound to the ghoul. It will attack back, and it will also hit with 1 attack. A roll of 6, and the goblin has the same conditions as all the other goblins. A roll of 6 will be good, but still not good enough. But with a roll of 3, there is no doubt the goblin will take a wound and move back 1 inch. The ghoul from the top here of the building will climb down the walls and charge the archer. And the charge is no good. The archer has shot but not fought before in this round, so a roll of 5 will hit back, and again, no hit. These 2 will have to continue this fight in the next round. The goblins suffered the worst casualties in this round, and both the leaders are now wounded. The goblin spearmen will still keep their guard at the entrance to the city, and they also have a unit of archers hiding in the ruins. Let's go to the 3rd round. Once again, the goblins will activate first, and the archers here are the first ones to activate. They move out into the open, and they are within firing range of the Ghoul Champion. They can take him down potentially if they are good shots, and they usually are not. But there is one hit. One arrow will find the target. And the ghoul will not defend. Let's see if it will regenerate. With a 5 or a 6, and it's a 5. The ghoul is hit by the arrow, but it will immediately regenerate the wound. So, now instead, the Ghoul Champion will attack the Goblin Leader, and that could be fatal. 3 attacks, and there is one hit only. That could have been worse for the Goblin. But one hit with Toxin Claws will most likely give 1 wound to the Goblin, and that's the case here, so 2 wounds. But the Goblin Leader can fight back with full strength. He has not fought yet. 3 attacks, he'll hit on a 5, and he will also hit once. The Ghoul must roll a 6 to block. And he pulls it off. It's a 6. No hit. So he will step back, but he won the battle with 1 wound. The Goblin Archer again moves his position 6 inches here at the corner of the ruin, and he targets his enemy. And he hits. It's a 6. 1 arrow will hit the Ghoul. Can he defend? With a 5, no. But can he regenerate then? And yes, he can. The Ghoul is unharmed. They are really tough to take down with all those regeneration rolls. The trained archers will fire at the goblins again. Last round was a disaster. This time is a little better. 1 of the attacks will hit. And 1 goblin will fail the defense roll. Now it's 2 against 2. The Goblin Leader has already fought, and he will not dare to attack the Ghoul Champion. Instead, he will charge the regular Ghoul with his 3 attacks, and he will of course only hit with a 6. And there is 1 hit. Even though he is fatigued, he could take down this Ghoul. The Ghoul has already been shot at, and it will not defend the hit, and it will not regenerate. The Ghoul takes 1 wound. So a roll on the wound chart. Finally, let's see the result. It's a 1. The Ghoul is shaken. Not the best, but not the worst result either. The Goblin Leader will move back. But of course, before he moves too far away, the Ghoul can strike back even though he's shaken, and he will hit with a 6. That was definitely not the plan. And the Goblin will fail the defense roll, so the Goblin Leader will take a wound with him from this battle. And since it's the 3rd wound, he will have to roll on the wound chart. It's a 3, he will pass, but he will also be shaken now. 1 more Ghoul steps out from the shadows and charges the Goblin Archer. And the attack will hit. That leaves the Goblin Archer with a double defense roll, and the first one is a good roll of 6, but then comes the poison, and the second roll is no good, so 1 wound. Now this goblin will be shaken, or worse. And the roll on the wound chart decides that this goblin is shaken, just as the Goblin Leader. It's beginning to look very difficult for the goblins. The spearmen here really need to get rid of the archers so they can focus on the battle on the other side of the city. And they will hit with 1 of their spear attacks. And 1 more skeleton archer will be removed, but still 1 left. And he can of course fight back. And he will not hit. So the last action of this round will be 1 Ghoul that will remove his shaken condition. And that's the end of the round. The goblins took down the first couple of ghouls rather easily, but the later ones here are far more difficult. Let's go to round number 4. The 3 goblin archers seem to be the key. They have to hit, and this time they aim at the regular ghoul with a higher chance of removing him, and this time we have a hit. Is it enough? The defense roll fails, and the regeneration roll also fails. So now, at least, the ghoul is hit and wounded. The fate of the ghoul is to be shaken, so not removed, but somehow it will stun the ghoul's actions this round. But we still have the Ghoul Champion, and he is out for revenge. He will charge against the archers. He will forget the Goblin leader, apparently, and try to take out as many archers as possible. He will hit only once, though, with his Toxin claw, and the Goblin will defend again, but will have to give up. The poisonous hit will remove one Goblin archer, but they can still fight back, and they will hit with 5s, and they will hit nothing. The Spearman Guard will have another chance at the final drained archer. They have 2 attacks with their spears, and they hit again. Could this be enough to remove the annoying drained archer? The defense roll is no good, and there is no regeneration on the skeletons. So let's see the roll on the wound chart. 1 wound first, and then a roll of 5 or more will, and it's a 5. Finally, the drained archers are all turned into bone dust, and the goblins can consolidate and hurry back as fast as possible. Great move by the goblins, but that also leaves their leader very exposed. The ghoul will charge, and the hit is good. The goblin leader is heavily wounded and shaken, and he will fail the defense roll. So that's another wound, wound number 4. So he will face a difficult roll on the wound chart, and with a roll of 5, the proud goblin leader who tried to defend his city is killed. The ghoul will make a consolidation move, looking for new, fresh goblin flesh. With the fall of the goblin leader and the drained archers, both forces are now below half strength. The final activations will be to remove the shaken conditions, and then we'll have to make morale tests. We'll begin with this ghoul. He'll need a 4 and he will pass. The second ghoul, of course, also will have to roll a 4 and it's a 1. But being undead, now he has to roll 1 die for every wound. And on a roll of 1 to 3, he'll take a wound that cannot be ignored or regenerated or anything. So that's 1 wound to this ghoul. The ghoul is not shaken, not removed, but he has taken a wound, and the roll on the wound chart is a 1. So now he will be shaken. He will begin the next round with that condition. So finally, on the ghoul side, the Ghoul Champion will roll and pass the morale test. He will continue his quest of turning this city into his rotten lair. The Goblin Archer will fail his morale test as well as his fearless roll, so he will be shaken. And then we have the second unit of archers. They have a quality of 5 and it's good. The morale test is passed. Finally, the unit of spearmen, and they are also good. We now go to round 5. None of the 2 forces are willing to give up the city yet. The Goblin archers will activate first, and this time they will hit with both their shots. They fire against the already shaken ghoul. He will save 1, but also fail 1 defense roll, and he will also fail his regeneration. The ghoul is already wounded. It looks bad for him. Pierced by arrows, he now takes his 3rd wound. And being shaken, he will add 1 to the roll on the wound chart. It's a 3, and that's a total of 6. The ghoul is killed. These ghouls and goblins really fight hard. Next up is this ghoul. He charges the archer on the corner of the building, and it's a powerful strike. And the goblin is defenseless. He will take another wound, and he's also shaken. This could be the end of him. The roll on the wound chart will remove any doubt. He is cut and shredded to pieces by the ghoul. The Ghoul Champion can smell victory. He will charge the archers. with his 3 attacks. And he hits on 2 of them, and we know that the goblins will have a very hard time defending anything. Of course, they can try, but they will fail. So 1 goblin archer is immediately splattered on the wall. The remaining archer will take 1 wound. So if he can overcome that wound on the wound chart, he will still be shaken. And he will roll very low on the wound chart. He will be shaken. He can strike back against the Ghoul Champion. He'll need a 6, of course, now that he's shaken. And with only 1 tiny hand weapon, I doubt that will do much of a difference. It's a 3. He will not hit. Final activation will be the 2 remaining Goblin Spearmen. They will charge the Ghoul Champion. And theoretically, they can kill him. But they will not hit. And the champion has already fought, but of course he'll still try to hit back, and he will also fail everything, so no hits in this battle. And that will be the end of the activations of this round. Only the morale tests remain. Who will have the guts to stay in the city? Let's see. First, this ghoul. A roll of 4 or more, and it's a 3. The ghoul will fail. Then the undead roll. The ghoul will take a 2nd wound. Could that be enough? No, the ghoul will be shaken. That's bad enough, but still it's here. And the Ghoul Champion will also fail. So now the ghoul must roll 2 dice. He has 1 wound and 2 left, so 2 dice. And this one, it's a 6. It's good, but let's see the other one. It's a 1, so the Ghoul Champion will take the 2nd wound. That's bad, but still not enough to make a difference. The Goblin Archer here is shaken and will fail automatically. And he's had enough. And then the unit of Spearmen. And they will also fail morale tests. They will be shaken as well. And that will conclude this battle. The Ghoul Champion will be the only unit left in the city, not dead or shaken. That's a narrow victory, but a victory nonetheless. The remaining goblins will leave the city. The city will fall into the claws of the Ghoul Champion. The same fate as many other cities in Teniras. Someone will have to stop the Necromancer very, very soon. Thanks a lot for watching this battle report. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope you'll join me for future bad reps.